Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like and subscribe, show some support. Glad to have y'all here. Not gonna keep y'all long. I'm just gonna I want to react to a video I came across. It's by a hip hop artist. I was gonna say a former hip hop artist, but I think he's currently still a hip hop artist. But I know he's actually an advocate for Palestinians, the resistance, and he speaks against what the tyranny of the terrorist Jewish state is doing right now. So we're gonna react to that video and everything. But I want to say a few things before I do that. I've been a Shia Muslim for probably about going on 3 years now, and I've never really been prouder to be a Shia Muslim, because it's good to know that we are the ones who stand for truth, justice, and who actually defend and don't just talk about it. We are the ones who make sacrifices as the Shia of Ali ibn Abu Talib alayhi salam. And I've never been happier than at these current moments to be a Shia, even if it's in a time that none of us wanted to see or none of us want to see. But again, it is what it is. The video we're going to be reacting to by Lowkey is a video where he's talking about Arab leaders who are helping Israel attack Iran in Gaza. Now, we already know this is going on. All of us, the entire Ummah, we already know this is going on. But we're going to see what he has to say about it and what he's discovered. But the Muslims know that the Muslim leaders are really no good. If they had any real iman within them, they would have not stood by and watched the Palestinians get slaughtered. So the nation of Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Jordan, Syria, these are the nations that I have some reverence for. Not particularly their leaders. Iran, yes. May Allah preserve the Ayatollah. But we know the Muslim leaders are traitors. I'll just call it how I see it. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We're going to get into the video. I'm going to share my screen here, and then we'll go from there. Remember, y'all, don't forget to support the channel with a like and a subscription down bottom. The subscription is free. You know, we don't have membership yet. This is a brand new channel, so I appreciate everybody that stops by, and I definitely appreciate everyone that stays. Okay, let me get this right. Okay, here we go.
Israel is bombing Iran relentlessly. But the truth is, this couldn't have happened without collaboration of Arab rulers in the region. Israel used Syrian air.
Like I said, we already know that Arab rulers been collaborating with Israel. Like Jordan shoots down missiles from Iran that are coming into Israel. I'm not sure if Saudi Arabia and some of the other nations around there participate in that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I know when Israel is using their airspace and going over to bomb Iran, there's nothing to be said. Jordan doesn't protest that. So let's continue.
Airspace to refuel its jets as it struck Iran. The jets, which launched to refuel the Israeli planes, took off from Al Udeid base in Qatar. Iran is being punished for its support for the Palestinian cause.
So you got jets taking off from Qatar to refuel Israeli planes to bomb Iran. And I wonder if Iran actually knows at this moment that this might be going on. I don't know if this is true or not. We're just getting a reaction. But in my opinion, it wouldn't be too far from the truth. You know, U.S. bases are there. and all of these other Gulf countries. So, and they don't like Iran, So, and I don't know if Iran is being punished for the support of the Palestinians. That could be a part of it, but I think the bigger scope of it is that Israel and America want regime change in Iran. So,
the region today, you have the axis of resistance, which is constantly subject to war by Israel and the United States, with the aid of the axis of assistance. And the Arab Iron Dome, which surrounds Israel, makes up that axis of assistance. Ask yourself, what have those rulers ever done for the Palestinian cause?
What a wonderful question. And this is what the Shia have been saying. When you attack us online and call us deviants and grave worshippers, and okay, cool. If that's what you believe, if that's what you were indoctrinated with, but what have your leaders done for the children, the women, and the men slaughtered in Gaza? Nothing, not a thing. They have helped Israel, supplied Israel, done business with Israel, blocked the Palestinians from getting assistance. Let's continue.
And what is their current role in the Gaza genocide? Egypt has been a key facilitator of the Israeli genocidal blockade on Gaza for over a decade. Egypt worked at the beginning of the Gaza genocide to extract extortionate amounts of money from Palestinians attempting to leave Gaza for the enrichment of a businessman very close to the Sisi regime.
Now, can you believe this? Because I believe it. I'm not even going to sugarcoat. Wallahi, I believe this because we know that Egypt has facilitated Israel's blockade on Gaza. And they just follow the orders of the Israelis and the Americans because, of course, Egypt receives aid from America for having a so-called peace treaty with Israel. So the fact that they are blocking the Palestinians from getting the things that they need through a blockade it's amazing to me. And it makes sense that there would be somebody, some shady guy on the other side trying to profit off of the struggle of these people. And these people will call themselves Muslim. Allahu Akbar.
Regime. And now the Egyptian government is stopping.
If you are still losing money as a trader, here's why. Emotion. Most trading causes take your money, give you some
those inhumanity with a conscience from reaching Gaza.
Have you ever heard an Arabic woman trying to breastfeed her flaccid child as it dies and her breasts are empty because she's been starved? For the love of humanity and for the love of Islam, please don't do this. Allow us to march to Gaza.
So this here is the Egyptian authorities blocking the march that activists were going to do through Rafah from Egypt to Palestine to try and break the siege on the Palestinian people. And Egypt is impeding that. I don't know if their excuses for the safety of the people, but I think this is just another sign of evidence that they play a part in what's going on in the suffering of the people of Gaza. That's undeniable.
In Jordan, King Abdullah has done everything he can to protect Israel, from arresting Palestinians to facilitating the interception of Iranian drones over their airspace and stopping them from reaching Israel, to taking part in the land bridge which helped Israel circumvent the naval blockade by the Yemeni armed forces. Across the region, rulers...
So Jordan is helping Israel even circumvent Yemen. So it's like, so you have Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Hezbollah, and in Lebanon, right? But you also have Israel with their coalition. And it boggles my mind because they already have the backing of America. They already have American weapons. The only reason that I can think of that the Arab leaders would feel it's so necessary to defend Israel is because America feeds their pockets.
Preside over billions of people who are deeply opposed to what Israel is doing. However, those rulers have existing covert business relations with the Zionist entity occupying Palestine. The son-in-law of Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, set up an investment firm by the name of Affinity Partners. He described it as a corridor for Gulf investment in Israel. Where did the money come from for this investment firm? $2 billion from the Saudi government and millions more from other governments like the UAE and Qatar.
So you have Muslim governments, Muslim countries who want to invest in Israel. They need a corridor to Israel. So you have American politicians who set that up and facilitate that. But remember, they do a lot of this on the low. These things aren't publicized. So when you see that these Arab governments, especially the Gulf countries, do not support Palestine and they purposely block Iran from doing what Iran needs to do, it's because they're in bed with the terrorist state of Israel. They do business. If Israel is gone, a lot of their interest in that Palestinian region probably would be gone. And then they would have to do business and facilitate something else with whoever comes into rule next. And they don't want to do that. They probably figure Israel is already well established and, oh, it's not going anywhere. I'm of that belief also that Israel is not going anywhere. I don't think it's going anywhere. I do think it can be severely damaged. I do think it can be put in its place for what it's done. But I don't think Israel is going to be wiped out off the face of the map because I don't even think that's what Muslims want to do. Some may, but we'll see.
Saudi-backed project Affinity Partners acquired ownership of Israel's largest shipbuilding company, the Shlomo Group. Following October 7th, the Shlomo Group provided military vehicles to Unit 5101.
So understand this. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to let the video play. But the Saudis have interest in the Shlomo Group, which is actually producing weaponry that is being used on the Palestinians. Wow.
That is the Shaudag unit, which was responsible for raiding El Shifa Hospital. This company, Shlomo Group, provides the majority of ships for the Israeli Navy. So it's entirely possible that the Israeli ship which raided the Madeline, led by Greta Thunberg, was built with Saudi and Gulf money. What else has Jared Kushner's Saudi-backed firm, Affinity Partners, been up to? It now partly owns Phoenix Investment Firm, another Israeli company, which has 2 million shares in Israel's largest arms company, Elbit Systems. That's money directly from Gulf rulers into Israel's largest arms company.
Now, with information like this, I wonder if the lay people of these Gulf countries and Saudi Arabia have any knowledge of these things, because your government is in bed with this with a government that you oppose and that you protest. Like, I struggle to ask myself, and I don't like to tuck fear anyone, but I struggle like to believe that some of these leaders of these Muslim countries are actually Muslim and they believe. That's my own personal struggle, wallahi. But when things like this are in play and it's going on, it's like, are they Muslim?
More than 85% of the drones used in the West Bank and Gaza are from Elbit Systems.
85%. 85% of the drones used are from Elbit, which Saudi has an
And
investment.
Phoenix Holdings is Elbit Systems' lone institutional shareholder. Phoenix Holdings not only sponsors but ensures the building of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Phoenix is also key to Israel's Adopt a Soldier project, which helps new Israeli soldiers become acclimatized to their surroundings. What about the UAE, home of Dubai, where
Traitorous
millions of
UAE.
people, and Muslims especially, flock every single year?
We know the UAE is a traitorous government for what they tried to do in Yemen. Yep, they tried to destroy the resistance in Yemen, and then when they realized that that fight was lost, they tried to back another group in Yemen who was opposed to Ansar Allah. So, and I'm not sure what's going on with that group. I'm sure they're still around. And the UAE, they have their hands in a lot of dirt. They're getting blood on their hands in Sudan. And they think they're low, but they're not low. They will be exposed shortly too. Ya Allah.
To live their best life and pose on Instagram. That same UAE is directly involved in the military infrastructure around Israel's genocide in Gaza. A deal was signed in 2021 between the UAE state-owned arms firm Edge Group and Israel Aerospace Industries to develop drones together. That's not all. Edge Group owns 30% of the Israeli defense contractor Third Eye Systems.
So Edge Group, a UAE company, does business with an Israeli company to manufacture drones together. And they own some stake within an Israeli business. How more in bed can these Muslim countries be with the government of Israel, who is causing so much destruction and death in the region? This explains exactly why they will do nothing for Palestine. It's just sick.
The Ghost Soldier system, which Third Eye rolls out, assists the ground forces in their operations around the Strip. And during the genocide in Gaza, Third Eye Systems increased its value by 51%. 30% of that company is owned by a UAE state-owned company. G42 is a UAE company headed by the National Security Advisor of that state. It has a joint venture with Rafael, Israel's state-owned arms.
Multiple joint ventures between the UAE and Israel. The United Arab Emirates and Israel. Some of this stuff has honestly got me speechless to know, because how could people possibly hope for the Muslim governments to stand up to Israel, to stand up for justice for the Palestinian people, just to stand up for what's decent and what's right, you know, to give precedence to their holy book, to the Quran, and to do what the Quran commands us to do? How can they, when this is really what they're into? Riches, money, the dunya.
Company. In fact, the military connections between Israel and the UAE are so close that Israel established Elbit Systems Emirates, a direct subsidiary of Elbit Systems.
That's it.
Based.
That's it. The UAE will never go against Israel. They will never go against Israel. If Israel has embedded itself so deep into the UAE that it now has an Elbit Systems within the UAE, they're like this. They're intertwined. You know, that's beyond business interest. That's defensive. You know, they're building weapons together. So, do you think the UAE is not going to defend Israel? I don't think the UAE ever had an interest in Palestine, ever, since its inception, to be honest.
Based in the UAE producing weapons. But the UAE's involvement in the Gaza genocide does not end there either. Its state, Mubadala, owns 11% of the Tamar gas field, which Israel operates in occupied Palestine. The Israeli military could not function without the gas that it procures from the Tamar gas field. And in fact, the relationship between Israel and the UAE is now so close that Israel Aerospace Industries announced that you will see Israeli and Emirati cooperation in space exploration.
Objective captured.
Think about that, y'all. Go to the page and like, subscribe.
Alongside our partners in the Gulf countries and the Middle East, IAI continues to promote innovative solutions with a clear goal: the development of advanced technologies that will help lead the entire region towards a more secure future. نراكم جميعا في أبو ظبي. See you all very soon in Abu Dhabi.
So contrary to public perception, normalization has already happened between the Saudi government and Israel. The Saudi government has been found to use Israeli intelligence company Celebrite, which is staffed by former personnel from Unit 8200, Israel's military intelligence unit. The Saudis use Celebrite to hack the phones of their own citizens. We know that Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi dissident who was hacked to death in the Saudi embassy.
But Iran is the state that needs to be invaded. Iran is the threat, right? Iran is only a threat because they're the only state that won't fold to Israelis' hegemony. That's why. Because Iran resists, and it actually built itself up to have the capacity to resist and to strike Israel, as we are seeing now. So we know the Saudis are in bed with Israel. If you ask me, the Saudis are trying to liberalize, you know, they're having parties and holidays out there that have nothing to do with Islam. And when did assassination become so normal in today's time? Like, and I was just thinking about this today, like, since Israel started its disgusting bombardment of Gaza and the war on Gaza, it's like the media and social media folks and whoever is like they're trying to normalize the killing, just killing. I don't care if it's a combatant. It's not normal to kill people. War is not normal. Blown up bodies is not normal. And if you're okay with that, and if you talk about it as if it's just another part of human experience, you're a psychopath and you should get checked out. No one should be killing anybody. I understand self-defense and I understand war in general, but war is not good. So let's not pretend like it is. Killing is not good.
In Turkey, had his phone hacked by the Saudis with Pegasus spyware from the Israeli intelligence company, the NSO Group. A state will not outsource the functions of its external and internal intelligence services to a state that it does not have a very close relationship with. The same is true of the UAE. It outsources the hacking of its own citizens' phones to the Israeli company Celebrite in a deal which was put together by the former head of Israel's external intelligence service. The truth is, throughout this genocide in Gaza, weapons have flown from the US Al Udeid base in Qatar to the Nevatim base in occupied Palestine. to provide weapons for the Israeli military. There is also evidence that weapons have flown directly from US bases in Kuwait and been delivered to the Israeli military. How do these governments have any control over their own sovereignty when they allow bases in their...
So Qatar and Kuwait taking a hand actually in the war by helping to supply the Zionist government with weapons as they are bombarding Gaza and killing civilians and killing people in the West Bank and killing people in Syria and killing people in Lebanon and killing people in Iraq and now killing people in Iran. If nations could be a serial killer, that would be Israel.
their state to be used to perpetuate this genocide. And what about the jewel of the Muslim world, Turkey, where Erdogan constantly brings up the Palestinian people in his prayers? Well, Turkey, factually speaking, has long trained Israeli pilots on the Konya firing range, allowing Israeli Air Force pilots to use the mountain terrain.
Isn't this shocking? Like, isn't this mind-blowing? If this doesn't bother you and disturb you as a Muslim, then I don't know what to tell you. How could I forget about Turkey? I didn't even mention Turkey. But yes, Turkey they're not innocent either. They're training Israeli pilots who are then going to go and drop bombs on Muslims. This is shocking to me. And it almost makes me feel ashamed as a Muslim. But then I remember that I'm a Shia Muslim. And we are the ones fighting back. We are the ones not helping and supplying Israel. Ya Allah.
Territory to sharpen their skills at targeting Palestinian homes. And in return, Turkish pilots are also trained at the Nevatim base in occupied Palestine. In fact, Israeli company...
Just think about what Turkey has done in Syria. My apologies for
Dorad
that.
Energy supplies electricity directly to Israeli military bases. The second largest shareholder in that Israeli company was Zulu Holdings, headed by Erdogan's close friend Ahmed Zulu. In fact, the Israeli...
Well, why don't you look at that? Turkey, the leader of Turkey, has a business friend who have interest within Israeli companies. There's always a business friend, somebody next to these leaders to incentivize them, to do the wrong thing. Where is these people's Islam? Like, where is it?
Israeli military could not operate without the oil which pumps to it from two Muslim nations. The pipeline which runs from Azerbaijan and through Turkey to Israel provides 40% of Israel's oil. This could have...
Azerbaijan is an interesting case to me. I'm going to do some studying on Azerbaijan. I've already looked into the country a little bit. Like, I liked Azerbaijan and what I was learning at first. Then I began to learn how they were actually enemies and opposed to Iran. Instead of them trying to mend that relationship with your neighbor, they chose to have closer ties with Israel. And I do believe that they may be letting Israeli spies spy on Iran from Azerbaijan, or going into Iran through Azerbaijan, or who knows, but they have supported Israel the whole way along. I know they have some issues with Armenia, and I think Iran supports Armenia, and I'm not fully there on my understanding of the whole conflict and structure of why Azerbaijan, another Shia country, does not just get along with Iran, which is the biggest Shia country and their next door neighbor. But nevertheless, like I said, they're an interesting
have been
case.
cut off at any time during the genocide, but it was not. It was also exposed that 4,000 Turkish citizens went into the Israeli military and fought during the Gaza genocide. Where are the legal repercussions for those citizens? At one point, the Turkish government claimed that it cut the $10 billion a year trade it has with the Israeli government. But what was found? That in one day, the supposed trade with Palestine was massively increased. Ships, which supposedly were heading to Egypt, turned off their antennas at the last moment and redirected to the Israeli ports of Ashdod and Haifa. It was even claimed by Turkish journalist Metan Sihan
Trickery.
that Erdogan's son, Burak Erdogan, was trading with Israel throughout the genocide through his shipping company. At one point, the Yemeni armed forces even struck a Turkish ship linked to the ruling party, operated by the Orash Shipping, a company owned by Saleh Zeki Sakir, a close associate of Erdogan's party. The Yemeni armed forces warned their brothers in Turkey to stop trading with Israel or they would be struck again. All of this is over a year into the Gaza genocide. What about Indonesia, the most populous Muslim country in the whole entire world?
Yeah, I forgot about Indonesia too. I never really thought to look into what part Indonesia might be playing into this. I know they have spoken out against the genocide, have criticized Israel, but remember, this can all be a ruse. Criticizing a country for committing a genocide is not the same as stopping the country from committing a genocide. It's not the same of cutting all ties and business with a country for committing genocide. So the statements really do nothing. Iranian missiles do something.
World. Despite the pro-Palestinian position taken by the government, you have several Israeli intelligence companies who have been able to implicate themselves into the functions of the state. For example, the NSO group, Kandiro, Wintego, and Intellexa are all involved in the runnings of the Indonesian security state from as far back as 2018. These are companies founded
Wallahi. Like, so you mean to tell
by
me
former personnel
that Indonesia's whole security apparatus is run by Israeli companies? Is that what he just said? Because if that's the case, it wouldn't even make a difference that Indonesia is the most populated Muslim country. You know that Israel would have spies and operatives all through that country if that country gets its security apparatus from Israel or Israel companies. This is mind-blowing. This is shocking and kind of disgusting.
Of Israel's intelligence unit 8200. What about Pakistan, the only nuclear state in the Muslim world? Despite the fact that it has a very pro-Palestinian position, the internal intelligence functions of Pakistan are aided by Israeli company Celebrite. Pakistan uses an Israeli intelligence company, Celebrite, to hack the phones of its own citizens. All of this, when taken together...
What's with the hacking of the phones? Like, are these governments so fragile, so insecure and weak that they just all need to hack the phones of their citizens? And are these Muslim governments and leaders so incompetent that they need to use Israeli technology and companies to do it? They can't build and achieve their own security apparatus? These are truly incompetent leaders.
Amounts to grand betrayal of the Palestinian cause and collaboration with Israel's project. What you're talking about here is a global network of intelligence agencies who have developed a reliance on Israeli technology, which renders the governments which supposedly control these agencies subject to extreme levels of leverage against them. If Israel has been able to integrate itself with the security services of states around the world, what does that mean for the functions of those institutions? How free are those politicians themselves? Greta Thunberg, a non-Muslim Swedish activist, said she is willing to die to deliver 100 kilos of flour to Gaza. Ask yourself, what have the rulers of the Muslim world given to Palestine? Despite the fact that those rulers have vast armies and navies at their disposal, they could not muster one act equal to that of Greta Thunberg and her friends. No title, no.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. But he had a point right there also. Greta Thunberg has done more for the Palestinians than these Muslim countries and governments have. This is a fact. She put her life on the line when these governments won't lift a fingernail. Wallahi, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, destroy these tyrants. But that was the reaction video right there. Let me know what you guys think about Lowkey's reporting on the Arab leaders just betraying the Ummah. Because make one thing clear, we know it is not the citizens of these countries. The citizens have a whole different perspective on what's going on. It's the governments who only care about themselves, their riches, and staying in power. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse and destroy them all. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Peace and blessings to you all. I'll catch you guys next time on